Good morning. Can you believe that it is already July? Welcome back to my garden tour series where I have spent this year building my dream garden from scratch, and we are finally seeing kind of that garden in its full glory. So let's go ahead and take a look around. First, some energy. Okay, in here we are in what my kids like to refer to as my tomato jungle. But in here, I've got mushroom basket, Amish paste, San Marzanos, black cherry, and sun gold tomatoes, I believe is what we planted in here. Mushroom baskets are probably some of my favorite slicing tomatoes. And then I wanted some good canning tomatoes, so that's where the Amish paste and San Marzanos came in. And then, of course, you have to have some like cherry or grape tomatoes just for everyday eating. Along the border in here, I did some small zinnias, which have been struggling with earwigs and currently the aphids. So they're barely starting to bloom, as you can see right here, but soon they're all going to be in bloom. Okay, this is my sweet potato bed. I've got two different sweet potatoes in here, just like a regular sweet potato and then also a purple sweet potato. I'm so excited for these. If you saw a month ago, I wasn't sure how these were going to turn out because they were looking very rough, but they have definitely filled out. And as you can see, my borage is ginormous. I put this as a border in between my sweet potatoes and like my lettuce and arugula because I know that sweet potatoes can kind of take over. Well, the borage kind of took over, but it's great because all of the bees and pollinators are loving my borage, and I just love that the flowers on it are also edible. Look how pretty this little purple flower is. Okay, you guys, our pepper bed is probably doing the best out of everything. The peppers are looking beautiful. I'm not sure why, but the aphids are not flocking to my peppers like they are my tomatoes. And last year it was the exact opposite. The aphids were loving the peppers and not so much the tomatoes. I don't know. Somebody help me out here, but I have bell peppers, jalapeno peppers, cayenne peppers, shishito peppers, and like sweet lunchbox peppers, and all of them are looking amazing. I think I have a couple bell peppers that are pretty close to being harvested, and I also have some jalapenos that I could harvest probably really soon. The onions are actually looking really good. I think I have a couple onions that I might be able to harvest because like the green part has kind of fallen over. I think that's a sign that they can be harvested, but the onions themselves aren't looking super big, so I don't really know. I'm leaving them in for now to see if maybe the onions will get a little bit bigger, but so far this pepper bed is looking amazing. I have so many cayenne peppers, so if you have tips on what I can make with cayennes, please let me know. I'm not exactly sure why I planted cayenne because I don't know what to cook with them, but I did, so here we are. Okay, now over here to the potato bed. This one's actually coming along. The potatoes look fantastic. They have all pretty well fallen over on this side. They're starting to dry up a little bit, which I think means they're going to be close to being able to harvest, but they're still super green, so I'm letting them go. They definitely have some earwig damage, but so far they look healthy, and the earwigs are finally leaving the beans alone, so I'm just giving it a win because the potatoes look healthy even though they're getting eaten, and finally the green beans are doing some work. Along here, I've got some pole beans that are starting to climb up. I haven't seen any flowers yet on my pole beans, so still kind of waiting for that. But the bush beans over here on this side, there's also some on that side, but the potatoes have kind of like all fallen over the top of them, so I don't even know if they're still alive or not. But these guys over here have flowers, and I've actually got a few green beans that are probably getting close to being able to pick. Yeah, we've actually got quite a few green beans that are getting close, so I'm so excited for that. This bed is another one that's doing its thing, and I can't complain. Okay, before I get started on the raspberries, look at how beautiful this strawberry is. Nothing beats a good homegrown strawberry. I promised my kids I wouldn't eat any of the strawberries this morning, so I'm just going to have to set these aside. But okay, and then in this bed back here, I've got a few raspberries that need to be picking. The raspberries are struggling a little bit. This is the first year having these canes, so I knew that they weren't going to produce a whole lot, which is totally fine. But some of them have a little bit of herbicide damage because my husband got a little too close to the bed, and raspberries are very, very susceptible to herbicides. So keep that in mind. My husband will no longer be getting anywhere near my garden beds because of these guys. So the front half looks really great. I'm not even going to show you the back half because almost all of it's dead. And then we have this random sunflower here. Oh, look how beautiful she is. She just popped up on her own and we let her do her thing. Stunning, beautiful, love her. Okay, and then I don't know if you remember last month, this trellis had peas all on it, but as soon as it got hot, they kind of just stopped producing, dried up. So they got torn out, and now I've got watermelon that I'm actually was the plan to tear out the peas and hopefully trellis the watermelon up here because watermelon need a little bit more space than I gave them in this bed. So I'm going to try and trellis the watermelon to go up this and give them a little bit more space to grow. But they're doing good. We've got a few babies starting to form, so hopefully we'll have watermelon before too long. Okay, so this is the corn and squash bed. This is popcorn. So the goal here is to let the corn grow, dry down, and we're going to have like homemade popping corn, which I'm so excited for. And then up the trellis here, I've got honey nut squash. The plants are huge, coming out like every day to help them learn to trellis coming up here. We've got a few of our first flowers forming, so hopefully I will start being able to see some baby squash forming soon, but as of today I don't see any baby squash yet. But this bed is doing good. I was so worried about the corn in the beginning. I had to replant this patch of corn probably 4 times because the birds kept coming out and eating my corn seed. This patch, if you remember, last month I had just pulled out all of my radishes and I replaced it with some sunflower. And then I decided that I can't have a garden without zucchini, even though I told myself that I didn't really need zucchini. So I've got some little baby zucchini back there that are literally just this tall, nothing really going on with them. And we've got some sunflowers that are about to bloom, which are always exciting. The carrots back here are looking beautiful. Cannot wait for them to be ready to harvest, but that literally won't be until like October, I think is when I usually pull the carrot. And then the cucumbers are finally coming along. I replanted the Jade China cucumbers what felt like a bazillion times, and we finally got some to survive. The lemon cucumbers also are finally starting to survive. I've got the first few flowers on the cucumbers, so hopefully we're going to be able to start getting some cucumbers to eat soon. But the earwigs are also all over here, and I'm starting to see signs of grasshoppers, which is making me nervous because grasshoppers, if you know anything about gardens, can be very destructive also. So wish me luck. The cucumbers though are, yeah, they're doing great. Just trying to train them to trellis. I swear, things that you think are going to be easy to trellis just refuse to do what you want them to do. So every day I come out and have to re-trellis these guys. But overall, we're doing good. I still do not have hardly anything that I can harvest, which is fine. I'm zone 6B, 7A, like right on that border. It really just depends on how bad of a winter we had, which is zone we fall in. Because, fun fact, if you didn't know, garden zones literally are just based on how cold you get in the winter. So there are years where we go into the negatives, which would put us into zone 6. And then there's years that we stay in the positives and just get into the low single digits, which would put us into the 7 zone. If you didn't know, fun fact, I call myself a 6B gardener because there usually is a period of time that we get into the negatives at least once during the winter. Okay, this is the other half of that sweet potato bed. I had to pull out my arugula and lettuce because the earwig infestation was just too much. I literally wasn't able to harvest anything that wasn't just full of earwig eggs. And I know you can just wash them off, but something in me couldn't get over how disgustingly full they were of earwig eggs. So I actually did do a second sowing of arugula. I also went ahead and tried to do some kale. I don't know if we were too late in the season for this or not, but tried it, whatever. I've got an eggplant, and then I also tried some lettuce over there. We've got nasturtium and parsley in here also as just like some filler crops. And again, this borage has just kind of taken over. Note to self, 4 borage plants was overkill. I probably could have gotten away with 1 or 2. I cannot believe I almost forgot to give you guys an update on the herb tower. She is looking wonderful. We've got parsley. Our basil is finally starting to come in. The sage is looking wonderful, as well as the oregano. We've got our rosemary down there. Look at this opal basil. She is doing wonderful things. Our dill or cilantro is done for this season. I've tried putting in a few more seeds to see if I can get some new going, but it hasn't really worked to this point. I harvested some garlic, chives, and they're starting to grow back. Look how big this oregano and thyme is, though. Seriously, I highly suggest getting one of these vertical planters for some herbs. You can grow so many herbs in just 2 square feet, and it is totally worth it. And watering is so easy. I just open up the lid and fill it up with water, and then it does its thing. And then down here, we have all of our mint. I need to do a few mint recipes. So if you have some suggestions, let me know. I've got 4 different kinds of mint in here. Regular sweet mint, strawberry mint, pineapple mint, and then chocolate mint. So good. I'm actually have some that I need to trim because it's trying to flower on me. But if you have any mint recipes that I need to try, let me know. Now we're in for a super quick greenhouse tour. What we've got going on in here, I have my garlic that is drying down on these racks. So excited to give this a try. And I'm going to try braiding my garlic for the first time. It is all hard neck garlic, which I think is hard to braid, but I don't know. We've still got some that is green, so I'm still letting this dry down. I want it to fully cure before I do that. But there's that. I also have some feverfew that I'm drying in here. So beautiful. It's actually completely dried down. I just need to figure out what I'm going to do with it. And then over here in these pots, I just have some of my herbs that were struggling outside earlier that I decided to just try in pots in here. So I've got my sweet basil, which is actually doing wonderful in here, some parsley and some cilantro. The cilantro looks like it's struggling a little bit, but if I can get some more cilantro for the season, that will be fantastic. It just hasn't been doing great outside, but that's what's going on over here. Last but certainly not least, we have the flower garden. This right here is what keeps me coming out to the garden when nothing veggie related is ready to harvest in the vegetable garden. All of my flowers are usually ready to start collecting and bringing in bouquets late June, early July, and you can see everything's looking amazing. We've got zinnias going, some snapdragons, cosmos, feverfew, a couple sunflowers. So this right here is my pride and joy this time of year because it's the only thing that's really producing and doing something in the garden right now. Hey, thank you so much for joining me for my July garden tour. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I cannot wait to show you guys what is going on in August. But stay tuned in the meantime for a few garden hauls because I should start being able to grab some things for harvest here soon. And let me know in the comments what I should make as my produce is coming on.